What up, everybody? InstructaBeats back again here with an angle lesson. So this is the very first lesson in our angle playlist. We got to preload with some angle vocabulary. Let's unveil what our objective is today. All right, our objective from the Babylonian tablet. Today I will become familiar with vocabulary terms that I will be using throughout this unit, even though it might be tedious today. So I can't promise you today's going to be the most fun math lesson you've ever done, but sometimes it's important just to know vocabulary to help you throughout the rest of what you're going to be learning. All right, so today we're going to be talking about angles, right? And angles are formed by lines when they meet. We'll look at that in a second, but first of all, we need to know what types of lines are there. Now, there are a few types of lines. We're going to focus on 3 of them today. The first one being a line, right? A line is not what you might think it is, though, right? So here's a line. A line's going to have arrows on either side of the line, okay? And it's really a continuous series of dots that are in line together. But the arrows are not endpoints, right? So a line has no endpoints and extends forever in both directions. So the arrows on either side mean that that line is going to continue forever. Nothing's going to stop it. Which leads us to our next type of line, a line segment. Now a line segment is a part of a line that has 2 endpoints. You can see these dots right here, okay? That signifies that the line is going to stop right there at those endpoints, okay? Now, this is important because most things in the world are line segments. We call things lines, but they're really line segments. Really, the only true examples that I can think of, and there might be a couple other ones, of a actual line is the equator, right, around the Earth. The horizon, if you ever go to the beach and you kind of see out there, you can see the horizon. And that's about it. There's not very many lines that are going to continue forever without stopping. Straight lines, at least. Straight lines. Okay, there could be curved lines like a circle, but straight lines. Now, line segments, that's what we think about when we think about lines typically. You could have the edge of a paper. You could have a piece of chalk, right? That's a line segment. Or my favorite one, for all of those who are not in school anymore, maybe you are still in school watching this, is the line in class. Okay, your teachers either now or your teachers in the past lied to you.
Can you please quit telling lies? I have new carpet and you're going to set off the fire alarm because your pants are constantly on fire.
Okay, you were not trying to stand in a straight line in the hallway. You're trying to stand in a straight line segment because you had a line leader and a caboose, right? You had 2 end points. So I really wanted to make that the difference between those because those are the ones we confuse quite a bit. And then our last one we're talking about is a ray, okay? You can see a ray has a fixed starting point, has the dot right there, but on the other end of it has the arrow, right? So it has a fixed starting point, but no end point. So it starts somewhere and continues forever in one direction. And most of the examples I could think about this in real life have to do with light, right? So first of all, we have the sun rays, right? Which start at the sun and then continue forever. They actually bounce off Earth and go back up, but we'll talk about that later. Some of it gets absorbed. Okay, I'm not a scientist, but you have a laser light, right? Laser beam, don't shine those in people's eyes, that could hurt. And then a flashlight, right? You have your flashlight, it's starting at the light and then going on forever. So those are the 3 types of lines we're going to be focused on for this unit. Let's take a look at this Instructa story, okay? So first, we have this red ray, okay? Red ray, RR, okay? And this red ray, it's very lonely. It needs a friend. And so let's go ahead and slide in this gray ray. And this whole story is about what happens when 2 rays meet, when there's a connection between these 2 rays. Maybe they were on an online dating website and they needed another ray. I don't know. Maybe they met at the coffee store. Who knows? Maybe the gas station. All right. So here we go. And as they come closer together and they finally touch, we have now created a vertex. Okay, a vertex is the point where two or more lines meet. So that could be lines, line segment, rays, right? Two or more lines meet right there. And when they finally fall in love, they create where they touch a vertex. And that is very, very important. That's our next mathcabulary word. I just wanted to tell you that through story because sometimes we like to have fun here, right? Let's take a look at what else they created when they made that vertex. So when they met, they actually created an angle. An angle is the space between the two lines. So right here, this is an angle. When the two rays met, they formed the vertex, and when they did that, they actually made an angle. So a lot of times we put lines right there, right? But really we're trying to say, hey, how wide are these two lines, right? What angle did they form? Now you might have heard of angles before, right? Maybe play sports and your coach told you to take a good angle to the ball or something like that, right? But in math, when we're talking, and that actually has to come from this, but you really have to understand the basics of it first, right? So angles can be really wide or really small. So let's say we had two other rays that met right here, right? And they were actually really close together. That's a really small angle that they just formed. The space between them is very skinny. Whereas this one was a little bit wider, and you could even maybe have one like this, right? Where two rays met and had this really wide space between them. That would be a bigger angle. And we actually measure these spaces using units called degrees. Our next lesson is all about what a degree is, so I'm not going to go too far into that. But when two or more lines meet, right? Let's say we even had this. We had two line segments meet, right? Well, guess what? We just formed four angles, okay? Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There are four spaces between different lines. So when they actually crossed each other, we made four angles there. So to recap, right, we just use our Instructa story time to teach us that angles are the space between two lines. When they meet, there's a vertex right there, right? You could have small angles, wide angles. You can even have four angles when two lines cross, right? You have your one vertex, but four angles. Let's do a little sort next to really make sure that we kind of understand what we're talking about, right? So here, we're going to sort these four different groups. I color-coded them, or actually five, sorry, red, orange, green, blue, and purple. And if you think it's an angle, I want you to go ahead and pause the video. Go ahead and draw it underneath the angle column on your notes. And if you think it's a non-angle or isn't an angle, go ahead and put it under the non-angle section of your notes. And then push play when you're ready to check your work. So hopefully you just did that. Let's start the red one. Right here we can see that we have a vertex, right? Two rays met. They're coming out of the same vertex, same starting point. And there's a space between them right there, right? So that is an angle. The orange one is also an angle, right? Two rays met. You had your vertex right there where my cursor is. And you have a space in between them. That is a little bit wider angle, but it's still an angle. Here we had two green line segments and they never touched, right? There's no vertex right there. Just like our Instructa story, they never fell in love and touched. So that is going to be a non-angle, right? Here we have the blue one. Now this one is an angle. Here you can see we had two line segments that made this vertex right here, and it actually formed two angles, right? There's one right here. There's a space between those lines. And there's a space right here between these two lines. There's actually two angles formed by the two blue line segments meeting. And then hopefully you knew that this purple one is also an angle because we just kind of talked about it. But these two lines met. They formed this vertex right here. And then you actually had four angles, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4 angles because there's spaces between all four of those places, right? So hopefully now you have a really good understanding what an angle is and what an angle is not. So let's take a look at the next step, which is naming these angles. In the Babylonian times, names were sacred, right? Everybody needed a name because it told you who you were. Well, here we have a line segment, array, an angle, and then a second angle. Actually, this is an obtuse and acute angle, but we're going to get in that in a couple lessons. And these look a little lonely. Okay, so even lines in angles need names, right? That's our Babylonian tip tablet, because back then obviously they didn't have paper a long time ago, so they had to write stuff down on tablets. So here's our tablet that's letting us know that we need to know how to name these. So first of all, when you name, okay, you need letters at each kind of endpoint or end of the line right here, right? So let's make this one C and D. Here's an angle, okay, and I'm going to show you a little bit about that. Let's do C-A-T, cat. And then here we could do P-A-T, pat, okay? So let's start with the line segment. The way you would name a line segment is you're going to use the letters that are located on it, okay? And so you're just going to, this is line segment AB. But up above it, you need to make sure that you put a line segment. And that's how you name it. So here's a ray. This is ray CD, okay, because it went from C to D or D to C. But up above it, you just put a ray. That way you know, hey, it's a ray, and its name is CD. Now the angles are a little bit more fun. We could name this angle CAT, so angle, let's put a little angle right there, CAT, or it could be named angled TAC, so it could be angle cat or angle tac. If you notice when we name it, we go in order. The vertex was in the middle both times, because when there's more than one angle, you want to know where you started and where you ended. So angle CAT would be from here to here. Angle TAC would be from here to here, obviously, and you're talking about the same angle. You're still talking about this space in between. You have to have the vertex in the middle, but it doesn't matter which letters you start with. Now, there's a third way, and you could just name this angle A, because angle A means that this is the vertex, so obviously these would be the two rays that help make it. So there's actually 3 different ways to name an angle. So here we have angle PAT, right, because A is our vertex where the 2 lines are meeting. We have angle TAP, so this could be angle pat or angle tap, or it could just also be angle A because A is our vertex. So now you know what lines, line segments, rays are, you know what angles are, and now you know how to name them so they don't feel like they are nameless, right? We got to have names for them so they feel important. All right, so here's a very simple you try today, okay? You're going to go ahead and pause the video. If you've never done this with InstructaBeats, pause the video. Fill out this chart, okay? You're going to say, what is it? Is it a line? Is it a line segment? Is it an angle? Okay, what is it? Then you're going to name it. When you get done with that, go ahead and push play, and you can check your work. So hopefully you just paused it, okay? And I'll go over the answer so you can kind of check your work. So here we have AB. This is a line segment, okay? Sorry about the handwriting. And you can see the line segment because it had the 2 endpoints right there. If we want to name it, we know that this would be AB, line segment, AB. All right, here we have an angle, right? Because 2 rays met at this vertex right here. Okay, there's a space between them. And there are 3 different ways to name this. It could be angle DAC, it could be angle CAD, or because the vertex is A, it could just be angle A, okay? Now this bottom one was a challenge, or it's supposed to be, okay? There's actually 2 angles here. There's an angle on this side, so let's start with that. So that would be an angle. I'll make that one purple. And so that would be angle MED, right? It starts at M, goes to the vertex E, and goes up to D. So angle ED could be angle DEM, all right? And for this one, you wouldn't want to just label it angle E, although I guess you could, because would be 2 angle E's, right? There's a vertex for both of these. So we're not going to name it angle E just because that would be confusing for this one. Then our second angle goes from D to vertex E all the way to A, right? So our red one could be angle DEA or angle AED. Now you can see both angles share D and E, but the difference was A and M because the angle went a different way. This one's going to be measuring this space, whereas the other one was measuring this space right here. So hopefully you got a good understand what an angle is. You know some vocabulary. I know it wasn't the most fun thing, but sometimes we got to learn that vocabulary to make us really, truly understand the lessons coming up. Thank you so much for checking us out today. We know there's lots of different options online. Check out InstructaBeats.com, our website. We can find all our merchandise, videos, timers, lessons, songs, anything you need for the classroom, we got it. Again, thank you so much. InstructaBeats out.